Hello everybody, I'm Peter and I'm here today with Manjula Gohil.
Hi.
Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Manjula. I've got a son, Vivek Gohil, who has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And I've been being a mother and used to work when Vivek was younger, but I'm just a full-time now looking after Vivek. But that's what mainly I do. I have a daughter as well, Radha, and she works in London and pops down and helps us out as well when she can. And that's it.
Awesome. And in terms of Duchenne muscular dystrophy and Vivek's prognosis, how has that prognosis changed over the years since he was first diagnosed? And well, from your view as a parent, seeing that?
Yeah, I mean massively, because Vivek wasn't diagnosed when he had started problems when he was 3, so it was 6 long years when they misdiagnosed him, and until I had to go with the consultant saying I didn't want him to give Vivek any treatment or any steroids because I wanted a second opinion. And it was only when we were referred to Hammersmith Hospital and it took one look at Vivek. It had nothing except this letter saying this boy suffers from chronic polymyositis, and within 20 minutes he said, what have you come for? And I said, well, some form of treatment because nothing that's been offered in Leicester has worked. And he said, oh right, I don't think we can offer a treatment, but what your son has is entirely different. He's got Duchenne muscular dystrophy and the prognosis aren't very good. They live up to their teens and not beyond 12 and 13, and I was just horrified. I drove home all the way. But in a way I was devastated to hear, but in a way I was kind of happy that I knew what it was, and that I had a team of people when I went back to support me through this, whereas before we didn't know what it was. People thought, oh, are you a hypochondriac mother? And going to the doctors, you know, the consultants know what they're saying, what are you complaining about? And it was all that. I actually felt relieved in a way. And so we took it from there, but it was an absolute shock. And well, Vivek is 27 now, so I think when he was first diagnosed and told about it, when he reached 13 and 14, every year I sort of hated having a birthday for Vivek because it meant he's closer to his death. And then one day I thought, you know, life is too short, you know, I want to live and celebrate, and whatever comes, you know, as long as I'm looking after Vivek and my daughter and there's happy atmosphere, you know, I didn't really want to focus too much on the disease and how to live a life, no matter what you've been given. And that's what my aim is.
I think that's the way it is, isn't it? You sometimes focus, it becomes less of a factor as somebody gets older, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
But ironically so, because it, you know, it progresses. What would you say have been some of the biggest challenges?
The challenges were actually accepting as a parent, you know, that you've got this son, and really there's no notebook for a parent anyway, even if you don't have a problem, you know, with your child. But then when you've been given this, you just think, am I capable of taking this on, and am I capable, or will I be able to look after, you know, that's the main challenge. And I think it basically I thought, well, instead of broadly thinking about the future and all in that little moment thinking, how am I going to cope, I think I took every moment and made that countable, and then the rest took after, you know, care for itself really. And I brought it down so I could manage it in little bits.
Well, we were going to say have been some of the biggest achievements, but I guess that's a huge achievement in itself of making that all work together.
I mean, achievement is when I see Vivek happy doing what he loves doing, and not looking at, when he was growing up in teenage time, he was a little bit angry, and focusing on, I can't do that now. I used to be able to last month, and I can't. And I just have to sit down with him and say, well, you know, these are what we've got to play with, and either we complain every day and get really angry, or we can find another way of resolving it, maybe learning from this, and maybe having some inner strength. And I think the inner strength has come from trying to understand and make the best of the situation, and help himself and then help others. And I think that's mainly what we like to do.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And what pieces of advice would you give to kind of a newly diagnosed family, somebody who's experiencing the condition for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I have to think back to my own time, because what I'd like to say to a newly diagnosed parent isn't something that I've not experienced myself. You can say that, you can understand the disease, but I think the main issue around it is just to give your son a life, spend a lot of quality time with them. Yes, focus on the disease and learn a lot from and how to deal with it. But I think if you could just categorise a section that, focus a little bit on the cure, the disease, and then have a life as a child, as a parent without the disease, and then as a family without the disease, and I think separate, because I think the disease can actually take over, and 5-6 years down the line, you think, well, where have those years gone? We focus so much on a cure that really I didn't think that my son wasn't happy during those years. I didn't really know how emotionally adapted he's, and how he's accepted the disease. And I think, that can hit you any time with anger, resentment, real family issues where, you're not communicating. And I think to overcome any problems that you face is really crucial that you communicate. And if anger gets in between that, it really can destroy what you're really trying to find a cure. It can destroy the family. So just happiness and peace, and have fun with it as well. Yes.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.